Hey, what's up everyone? This is Cameron with Ledford Billiard Supply, and in today's video we're going to be talking about our used pool tables buyer guide. We're going to be going over two different models that I have here behind me. This is the Brunswick Richmond that was built in the 1980s, and this is another Brunswick pool table that was built in the early 2000s. We're going to compare both of these, talk about the differences and which one's more valuable. All right, so let's jump right in it, guys. So the first thing we're going to cover is the wood quality of both of these tables. Now you're going to see two different types of wood quality here. The top table here is made out of MDF. Many of you guys may have heard that, but the finish is actually a laminate finish, so it's glued on. Now some concerns to think about when it comes to MDF tables: if you have any water leaks or if there's any water in the air, these tables are going to soak it up and you're eventually going to get bubbles in your finish. This client here did a great job maintaining their table. Now the table beneath me here is a solid wood table, so it is all milled. I believe this is a maple or oak frame, and also the rails are solid wood as well. Now that makes a huge difference when it comes to price and quality in the build. Now there's also some other differences. When you're looking at a budget-friendly option, which this would have sold for about $2,500 to $3,000 brand new when it was in the 1980s, this also has backless slate. Now, when it comes to backless slate, you're like, hey Cameron, what's backless slate? Well, the thing about these two models is that they're so different. We can actually show you all the differences in a used pool table right here behind us. So the table underneath us has what we call backed slate in our company, but it's basically, it has framing underneath. This allows us to apply the felt, which if you're not familiar with the felt, it's actually the cloth that the balls roll on the table. This is it from this table. It allows us to staple the felt directly into the slate, into that framing, so that we don't have to apply any adhesive onto the slate, leaving residue and felt fibers after. Now this top table is the opposite. So this top table actually has backless or frameless slate, right? And it has to be glued. So the felt that we put down, we have to apply an adhesive on it, which goes all around the four corners of the table to be able to stretch and glue that felt down, and that leaves a residue after the build. One thing to keep in mind too is when you're moving a used pool table and you remove that felt, it's much easier to keep stapled felt and reuse that because it's not glued on. So it's really easy to remove. Where when you have felt that is glued on, like for instance with this table, when we were taking this one out and we were pulling the felt off, we accidentally stretched it and it tore across into the middle. Now this table has to be applied with new felt. It's a very old felt anyway, so like I said, it's about 40 to 50 years old, so most likely the new buyer of this table would want new felt anyway, but just something to keep in mind when you're shopping for used tables. You may incur the cost of recovering of the table. Now for the next thing that we want to talk about is pockets. Now this is something that's kind of overlooked. Most people don't really think about this, but it is something that is concerning. So for instance, I have an example here of a pocket that came off of the table that's on the bottom. This is an external pocket. So you have two types of pockets in pool or billiards. You have an external pocket and an internal pocket. This would be an external pocket. Now what you can see here is this actually bolts to the rails and is on the outside of the table. So for instance, if this was a middle pocket, it would be like this, and it would actually be on the outside. Now with this one, you can see where the previous owner had made some repairs to this table. What you can look out for on this are any tears like this. So basically, whether this was done when moving the table or it had done or it happened previously, basically this pocket had been ripped apart. Very common with these. It really comes down to how well they were maintained and also to just the overall shape of the pocket. These are real leather pockets. So with some leather conditioner, you can really revive these. But if you had to replace a set of pockets, or if you wanted to change the color, you're looking at $300 to $600. It's about $100 a pocket, to give you a rough range on what replacing these would cost. Now, on the top table here, if you notice the rail assembly here, the pockets are internal pockets. Now you can kind of see it poking out of here at the bottom here. These pockets are plastic drop pockets. Now, these typically can last much longer. Really, we're not seeing a huge difference in the lifetime or the two pockets. But what you do notice is when they're moved a lot, they are stapled in at the top versus where these are internally bolted into your rails. That's what these holes are. You can see some wear and tear when they're stapled or nailed in. Now, when it comes to the final thing that we really want to talk about is cushions. Now, a lot of people don't understand what cushions are. It's kind of a jargon in our industry. Cushions are actually what is underneath the felt that is on the rails. Now, that is the main thing you want to look at. So with an older table, okay, as you see, this is a rail, right? This is the cushion. Now, what's underneath here? So this is covered with felt, okay, but the cushion, we want to check the life of the cushion. Now, the way we like to do it is simply, you can just push down on it from the top. And you're going to shoot the table when you're really looking at it to see the difference in the lifetime. What you want to do is you want to have a nice, what's called live cushion. Now, what that means, it's all about rebound consistency, okay? Will the balls accurately rebound with the same consistency on all 6 rails? You can find some used tables that have 1 dead rail and 5 live rails, as we would call it. Now, that's going to really determine about how much sunlight it's getting, how well it was maintained, how much was the table covered, and then also the type of cushion that it is. Brunswick is famous for having the longest lifetime for cushions. They call it the Brunswick Centennial cushion. So, you know, it's advertised 50 to 100 years. That's the way I like to talk about it. I've seen some early 1900 model tables where the cushions were still live on it. It's very impressive. And then also you can go buy like an American Heritage table, for instance. They're famous in our area. The cushions are dead. I mean, it's like hitting a 2x4. So if you roll the ball across, it bounces about 3 inches off the rail and it bounces up in the air. That's what you don't want. Those type of cushions you're going to have to replace if you want a fair game to play or just to have a fun game in your home. Now, when you replace cushions, you have to replace the felt, because when we take the felt off of those rails, we can't reapply that same felt. So that's something also to keep in mind for all those extra incurred costs that you may not consider. Now, finally, I want to go over how much are one of these tables worth. For us, we take these underneath consignment and we're selling these here in our showroom. We're going to sell this table at $2,500 without installation. This one here is going to be at $3,000 without installation. And then installation's added on top of that. Delivery is included. So something to consider is, do you want new cushions on it? Do you want new felt? The cost of assembly, and finally, the cost of the table. So if you're picking up one of these tables for $500 to $1,000, it may seem like a good deal, and then on further inspection you realize, okay, well, we've got to move it, so we've got moving fees, we've got the cost of felt, and we've got dead cushions, so we need to put new cushions to have a fair play. That can almost rack up to $3,000 to $4,000 and can sometimes overextend the cost of what a new pool table could buy or an entry-level table could be purchased for. Now, with all that being said, we're here at $2,500, $3,000. It's pretty clear to see the difference in the money, right? I think it's well worth the extra $500 to purchase a table like this down here that has that frame slate, that is a solid wood table, and you're able to reuse the bed felt. That's a huge key, because that's an extra $1,000 that you could incur by having to do that, and that's without replacing the cushions. So this has been the Used Pool Tables Buyer Guide. I hope you got some valuable information on this. And if you're shopping the market and you see a table that you're interested in, feel free to reach out to us directly at ledfordbilliardsupply@gmail.com, and we'd be happy to send you over an appraisal value of that table and also any expected associated cost in refurbishing your table. If you like this video, go ahead, hit the like button down below, hit subscribe for more videos like this, and we'll see you next time.